Go.
Okay, good evening everybody. Thank you for coming. Thank you for making it out here on a Tuesday night. It's a little bit cold outside. I'm not liking this. I was liking the nice warm weather and it turned on me. But anyway, we're here to talk about your immune system, and we're going to talk about enzymes and how enzymes impact your immune system. And so a little bit about me. I am what they call a digestive health specialist, which I got a lot of training in enzymes and enzyme therapy. So I love enzymes. I think enzymes are absolutely amazing. I think that most people are deficient in enzymes and don't really understand their function in the human body. So we're going to go over that a little bit. So the immune system. So the purpose of the immune system is to remove infectious diseases and other pathogens from the body. And there's different parts of the body that are considered, a part of the immune system. And skin, that's one of the big organs because it covers your body and it's protective. It protects, from pathogens coming in. But the white blood cells and the lymph nodes, we have all heard about the lymph system. And the lymph system, it's kind of like the garbage can, of the body. It cleans up all the pathogens and bacteria and viruses. And so we want to keep the lymph system moving. Just a little note before we get into C. Everett Koop. The lymph system does not have a pump. And so it's really important that we exercise. That's how the lymph system, the lymph gets moving through the body. The breathing, deep breathing exercises and exercise. So it's not like the circulatory system where we have the heart and the heart keeps everything pumping. The lymph system, we need to work at that. So talking about immunity. So we have C. Everett Koop. He was our Surgeon General back in 1988. And back then he saw what was happening. And he says that chronic degenerative diseases such as heart attack or heart disease, stroke, cancer, diabetes, they have to be prevented because we can't find a cure for them. We're going to be overburdened, which is what we find now, with all the issues that we have going on with insurance and our health insurance system. So he realized that we need to look at prevention. And so that's the key. And I think that's why most of us are here today is let's prevent this from happening, any of these diseases. And so it's time to rethink things. And what we're being taught when you watch TV, listen to the radio, we're being taught, go to your doctor and ask your doctor for a medication. If you have restless leg syndrome, it's uncomfortable, go to your doctor, ask your doctor. Whatever condition it is, if you're depressed, why don't you go to your doctor, ask your doctor. And it's time to rethink that because what's happening is the pharmaceutical industry is getting bigger and bigger and they're getting wealthier and wealthier and we are getting sicker and sicker. So it's time to rethink all this. Now Buckminster Fuller, this guy's awesome. I love him. He was a thinker that would think outside the box. And he says in order to change an existing paradigm, you don't struggle with it, and try and change it that way. You create a new model. And that's how you break free from the old paradigm. And that's what we need now, is we need a new paradigm. And I'm seeing that there's like a polarity that we see in our country where you see so much of the population going down the road of, trusting their doctor, abdicating all authority for their health over to the doctor. And then you see a growing group of people that are taking matters into their own hands, their health into their own hands. And it's really important to stay informed as to what's going on. How many people have heard about homeopathy? Anybody here? Okay. So homeopathy's been around for a long time. And as a matter of fact, the royal family, like Prince Charles and the whole royal family, they've been into homeopathy and those types of treatments for, decades and probably centuries. The FDA just opened up a research study because homeopathy has been taking off in the U.S. It's beginning more popular, and they need to make sure that we are safe from all these very dangerous homeopathic remedies. So I think it's time for us to kind of keep informed as to what's going on, and to make sure that our voice is heard. Because if the FDA steps in and either classifies it as a drug, then it's not going to be accessible, or if they say this is all garbage and it doesn't work, it's not going to be accessible. And so I think it's time that we start registering our voice and being aware of what's going on. And that kind of goes into changing the paradigm. It's like when the paradigm is starting to change, the old paradigm, everyone that lives there gets a little bit flustered and upset. And I think that's what's going on with the whole thing with homeopathy. So just a little side note on that. So genetics. We hear a lot about how genetics is responsible for what's going to happen to you as you grow older. So if you had a parent that had diabetes, well, I'm going to get it. Or heart disease, well, I'm going to get it. And so it's kind of predetermined, and that's not actually the truth. It's not the genetics, it's your lifestyle. And if your father had diabetes, look at what he was eating. Look at his lifestyle to see what induced the diabetes. So our lifestyle, we're overweight and obese. That's a lifestyle issue. People have the poor diet. People smoke. They're not physically active. All of these things are lifestyle issues, and all of these things impact our immune system and impact our health. So it's just another way to think of it. And there's a lot of books out and a lot of information about epigenetics, which basically means, it's above genetics, and that's what controls. So all these lifestyle things control what genes are going to be turned on or what genes are going to be turned off, and then it's going to affect your immunity. So we need to look at a new life versus an old life. Let's make new choices. Do we want to keep going on the same path that we're going down? Do we want to have to, fight for our Obamacare and our prescriptions and all these kind of things? Do we want a new life where we don't need to rely on the government for our health? I want the new life, personally. So we've got the sick care model, which what they want is they want to keep you just healthy enough so that you're alive and sick enough so you need their medication, because it keeps the companies profitable. And pharmaceutical companies, they're for profit. And so the whole system, the whole way it's designed is their responsibility is to the shareholder. And so they want to come up with more and more drugs so that they can have more and more profits. They're not really interested, the way it's designed is not really interested for your best health. And true health care is looking what you eat, looking at your lifestyle, making sure that you keep yourself healthy by the things that you do every day. And so I love this quote. People are fed by the food industry, which pays no attention to health, and are treated by the health industry, which pays no attention to food. And they're kind of like blending a little bit. A lot of the chemicals and things that are used now in food, they use them in pharmaceuticals, and the lines are getting like really, really blurred. And so it's important to realize what's going on so that you can take action to really, take control of your own health. And I don't like to tell people all this stuff, like doom and gloom. I like to tell people all of this stuff so that they can say, okay, you know what, I have the power. I can take the power back, and I have the choice to make myself healthy or not. So it's time to get back to the basics. And it always comes back to that. I think that every time that, you know, man gets involved to like improve something, kind of screw it up. And so to me, it's more important, let's just get back to the basics. So we need to look at how the body works. So we've got the cells that work together with the tissues, they form the tissues, and they work together in the organs, and then they work together in the organ systems, and that creates the organism, which is the human body. But if you take it all the way back, it always comes back to the cells. And so it's really important to look at what's going on with the individual cell. So if you're experiencing symptoms, there's something going on with your individual cells. In your body, I always say that your body is working exactly the way it should. So if you are having symptoms, there's something that you're doing that is allowing those symptoms to appear. It might be your food choices. It might be things in your environment. It might be your lack of, you know, physical activity. But there's something that is going on in your life that's causing the symptom to be there. And each cell is like a little factory. And so you have nutrients and stuff coming in the cell, and there's so much going on. I mean, it really is like a factory. There's so many chemical reactions going on in the cell, but the nutrients come in and the waste product goes out. And this is the way the cell is supposed to operate. And so it's important to look at cellular nutrition. And if you have an unhealthy cell, the cell wall is impermeable, so the nutrients aren't getting in and the waste product's not getting out. And one of the big things to look at with that is what kind of fats are you consuming and what kind of protein are you consuming, because your cell wall's got this phospholipid layer where it is semi-permeable and it lets in the nutrients and it lets out the waste product. But if you have building blocks that are less than optimal, you know, if you're using, you know, Crisco oil, for example, your cell walls are going to become more and more brittle. It's not going to let the nutrients in. It's not going to let the waste product out. This is very simplified. I mean, there's so much more to this. We've got receptor sites and things like that. But if you just kind of look at it, you know, little basic level, it's easy to kind of think of it. And so your 73 trillion cells make up your organism, make up everything, all your organs, everything. And so you're only as healthy as your cells are. So it's important to make sure that your cells are kept healthy. And so the next question is, how do we keep ourselves healthy? And that's a big question for tonight. And so we're going to talk about enzymes. And enzymes are the spark of life. So nothing happens in your body without enzymes. You would die. You can't blink an eye. You can't do anything without enzymes. And the way I like to describe it is, you know, like a construction site. So you have your lot, and you know, you have delivered all the raw products. You know, you've got the 2x4s, and you got the roofing material and the plumbing material. You got it all there. You know, that's like your fats, your proteins, your carbohydrates, your you know, vitamins, minerals. But it's just sitting there unless you've got workers. And so the workers are the ones that are actually going to be building the house. The workers have to have the raw material, but you have to have both. And the enzymes are like the workers. And so you can't do anything without the workers. So they are the spark of life. And so another way of saying it is, if you don't have enzymes and enzyme activity, you don't have life. So that is how critical enzymes are. So they're the body's natural life force. Like I said, nothing can happen without enzymes. They're present in every single organ, in every single tissue, every single cell of the body has enzymes and enzyme activity. And their energy. And they are the only thing in the body that has the capacity to do work. So like I said, they're the workers. So we need the workers. Workers are very important. And so we need foods that are rich in enzymes. And there's two different types of main categories, I should say, of enzymes. So you've got the digestive enzymes that help break down the food, and you've got the metabolic enzymes that help your body perform all the other functions. And so what we need to do is focus on the enzymes. Focus on eating foods that are rich in enzymes. And here's a list of foods that are rich in enzymes. So anything that's like avocados, bananas, grapes, pineapples. Pineapples are amazing. They've got a lot of really, really great enzymes. Cultured foods are great. Cucumbers, unrefined oils. That's something that's really important. Raw, unrefined oils. So all of these foods are rich in enzymes. And Edward Howell, he was kind of like the father of the whole enzyme therapy. He devoted his whole life work to learning about enzymes and how they work. And he says without enzymes, no activity at all would take place. So vitamins, minerals, the macronutrients, none of those are going to be doing the work. It's the enzymes that are going to be doing the work. And so what do? Well, they help us digest our food, but they also help us with our immune system. And that is what's critical. So they're natural anti-inflammatories. They eliminate scarring, and they're anti-fibrosis. They help digest the foods, and they cleanse the blood. So they do a lot of things. And so what are they made of? They're mostly made up of protein. So we need to then have nice, good, healthy sources of protein. So if we want to have good good enzymes, we need to have healthy sources of protein. And one of the things also, when I say this, I don't want people to think, oh, I need to indulge on eating protein. No, we need healthy, good proteins, and we need proteins that that are raw and easily digested, but we need balance. So we're going to get into, the other macronutrients. And so proteins, they're organic molecules, and they're the building blocks of cells, the muscles, skin, the blood, which are all parts. The skin is part of our immune system. It keeps out pathogens. The blood, we need good, healthy blood to circulate, the antibodies throughout our body, and enzymes. And so, as you can see, protein is really important. And so what we need to look at then is, okay, well, what damages enzymes? And there's two things that damage the enzymes in your food. And one is heating your food. So heating it between 105 and 118, that's like the high limit. Anything over that, the enzyme activity is gonna die. It's just gonna be gone. So eating plenty of healthy raw foods. If you're gonna have nuts or seeds, it's really good to sprout them. It gets rid of the enzyme inhibitors, and it starts the whole sprouting process, which is a high enzymatic process. And for example, almonds, it's a really good source of protein, and if they're sprouted, you're going to have all that added benefit of having the enzymes in your food. And then medication. So all medication, no matter what kind of medication it is, it's going to affect the enzyme process. So it's going to stop it, it's going to slow it, it's going to have some kind of negative effect on the enzyme process. And as a matter of fact, back, I think it was like in the 30s when they started canning things, they did all sorts of experiments. Okay, what are we going to do? We canned, our peaches, but we opened up the can and it's disgusting. It's like mush. Everything went bad. And they realized, well, we have to stop the enzyme process because the enzymes break the food down, which is what they're supposed to do. And so they realized if they put aspirin in, that stopped the whole enzyme process. And so aspirin for a while was used in the canning process because it stopped all enzyme activity. So if you think about it, you're being told by your doctor, you know, just take a little baby aspirin every day, that's like really, really detrimental for your health for a lot of other reasons, but for the enzyme activity. It's just going to kill the enzyme activity going on in your body with, you know, whatever foods you have in your digestive tract. So medication, remember, it's always going to affect enzyme activity. And so the Kirlian photography shows pictures, and it shows, for example, at the top on the left, the raw tomato versus a cooked tomato, and you can see the life force in the raw food, where there's the tomato, the broccoli, or even a raw piece of meat. The enzyme activity is there. I mean, you can see it's alive, it's vibrant. And if it's cooked, it's really, really diminished. So you're not doing your body any favors by eating cooked foods. So the question I get asked a lot is, well, how do I know if I need enzymes? Like, how do I know if I need to take digestive enzymes? Well, there's a bunch of signs. So indigestion, fever, pain anywhere, not just digestive system. Pain, swelling, redness, and then immune system issues. These are all signs that your body's enzyme deficient, and you would be doing your body a big, huge favor by taking supplemental enzymes. And so when your body is depleted of enzymes, it can't absorb the nutrients. And so what happens is you take the enzymes break down the food. So you eat a protein, for example, it's going to break it down to amino acids. Then your body's going to say, okay, now I know what to do with all these amino acids. And it can put it together in different configurations to accomplish what the body needs. You know, it's the same with carbohydrates. You know, it breaks down the carbohydrates to glucose, so your body says, okay, this is energy I can use. The same with fats and fatty acids. So it's really important to, you know, you might be eating like the best food, but if your body isn't breaking it down, you're not going to get the benefit. So that's why it's really important, even if you're eating the best food, to take supplemental digestive enzymes. Especially as we get older, our body's ability to make the enzymes it wanes. So protein. So if there's a protein deficiency, it's going to affect your immune system because it's going to affect the blood, it's going to affect the brains, it's going to affect the enzymes because, as I said, you know, enzymes are made of protein, and it's going to affect the antibodies. And so if you're not having the right protein, if you're not breaking the right protein down, it's going to start affecting your immune system. Oops. And the same thing if there's a deficiency in carbohydrates. And one thing I want to note, okay, when I talk about carbohydrates, to me a carbohydrate is not a starch. I put that in a different category. A lot of people, when they think of carbohydrates, you know, what do they think? Like bread, you know, rice. They think of starches. Well, carbohydrates are not, you know, that. They are, I mean, that includes that, but vegetables are carbohydrates. And so when I talk about a carbohydrate deficiency, it's those kinds of nutrients, because those are nutrient dense, and our body needs the vegetables, it needs the fruits, it needs those nutrients. But what's going to happen if you're deficient is you're going to have lack of stamina, and you're going to have body weakness, and of course this is going to again affect, you know, your immune system. You're going to become depleted. And then fatty acids. Okay, this is a huge, huge, huge one. This is a whole list of conditions that are associated with a fatty acid deficiency. So we've got autoimmune disorders that are associated, allergies, cancer, lupus, mental illness, stroke. I mean, the list is rather extensive. And this is from a 1999 study, Medline medical database. But our bodies really need to have the good fats. And so that doesn't mean going to McDonald's and having French fries. What that means is like the good omega-3s. There's actually good omega-6s. There's omega-9s. I mean, the omega fatty acids. Because of the foods that we are eating, we are pretty deficient in the omega-3s. But we need to make sure that if we're eating the good fat, you know, raw, unprocessed good fat, that your body's able to break it down. So the enzymes are really, really important there. And they always say you are what you eat. And this is really true. You know, you can see a person's diet by the way they look. And then scientists have officially linked processed foods to autoimmune diseases. And so that's an immune system problem. And there's a link there. And it's no surprise that we have this increase in autoimmune diseases now. I mean, I'm hearing, you know, more and more people, younger and younger, getting different autoimmune diseases. And it's really scary and it's really sad because it takes over a person's life. So psoriasis and eczema, these are also considered autoimmune diseases. And they're related to gut permeability, so leaky gut. It's another reason why it's really important to watch what you eat and make sure that you take the digestive enzymes. And then alopecia, this is another autoimmune disease. And so, you know, your body just, it attacks the hair follicle and you don't have the hair growth. And this is devastating. So I had a client that had, he was a young kid, he was about 15 years old, and he had alopecia, and it was really sad. I mean, 15 years old, really tough time for anybody, and he always had to wear a baseball cap because he didn't want to see the big, people to see the big patches on his head, you know, where he didn't have hair. And put him on a dietary protocol, you know, getting rid of gluten and the things that cause the intestinal permeability, but also a really good enzyme regimen. And within a few months, I mean, he was excited. He had his hair back. So, and it was like full. So it was awesome to see that. And so that's one thing I love about enzymes is I feel like with enzymes, you can get pretty fast results. You know, I've had clients that were really deficient in their adrenals, and the enzyme line that I use, it's a professional line, and they've got a whole protocol, you know, to go through to see what kind of enzymes that you need. And she was really depleted with her adrenals, and we put her on an enzyme protocol, and I mean, her energy level went up and she was able to function during the day where she wasn't before. So good health, where does it start? It starts in the gut. And it's actually the cheapest way, you know, to treat all this stuff. And it's much better than going to the doctor. I had my own issue when I was 20, and this is one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about enzymes, is went through test after test after test, and the doctor couldn't figure out what was going on, you know, and he would throw out these words that for a 20-year-old is really scary. You know, he thought I had in my intestine, like I had tuberculosis, which I've never heard of that before, but that test was negative. And then he threw out lupus, and that was negative, and then cancer, so that was another really scary one. And so it's scary because you're being led down this road and you're being told, okay, you have to come back, you know, in a couple weeks and we get the test results, and gosh, don't know what that is. And so putting me through this, and then finally it was Crohn's disease. So I went to my chiropractor, and I had no idea that, I mean, chiropractors are for your back, you know, for your back and for your neck. That's what I thought. And I just mentioned this to him in passing, and he's like, oh my God, why didn't you come to me first? He was so upset because this doctor had put me on steroids and led me down this path and like scared me. And he put me on digestive enzymes and chlorophyll to just clean out the blood, clean out everything, and adjusted me. And I mean, I've never had a problem since. So, I mean, if I stayed down, you know, the path of the doctors and not listened to my chiropractor, I probably would have been, you know, on all of those powerful medications and, you know, definitely not be here talking to you guys tonight. So, the food and the beverages, I mean, they're the building blocks. And so, I also think that what you eat, like, or eating itself, the act of eating is like the most spiritual thing you can do, because the food and the drink, it becomes your body. And so if you think of it that way, it's like, okay, look, oh, I'm so hungry, and you know, that McDonald's smells so good and I just want those French fries, you know, and if you think like that and then you look at that and think, oh, that's going to become, you know, my brain, that's going to become my blood, that's going to become who I am. It's like, oh, I don't want to go down that road. And so, you know, if you have a beautiful salad, you know, if you've got fresh fruit in front of you, it's like, yeah, you know, that I want to become me. You know, that's the building blocks that I want. So that's the way that I look at health, and that's the way I look at food. So it's a whole change in paradigm for me on how I view food itself. And food's to nourish you, you know, and I think that food should taste good, and I really, really enjoy eating my raw food, you know. To me it's delicious, and looking at, you know, McDonald's or whatever, it just really grosses me out now. It's just nasty. So anyway, what you eat in private, you wear it in public. You know, it's going to show. It's going to show in your weight. It's going to show in your skin. It's going to show how you feel. And that's the biggest thing. You know, how are you feeling? How are you feeling on the inside? And it's going to show. So, you know, taking the little extra step to eat the delicious and fresh raw food, and you know, the food, that's the solution. And I find it interesting that what's going on now with our food supply, where we've got GMO foods that are taking over, we've got conventional foods that are taking over. I don't know if you've heard, but there's a new psychological condition that if you focus too much on eating healthy, that's something wrong with you. So it's actually a new psychological condition, which I was, actually I think there might be. I think there might be a pill for that. So anyway, if that is the psychological condition that I have, sign me up. I like that one. Because I'd rather have that condition than having, you know, bipolar and depression and diabetes and all the other conditions out there. So anyway, food is the solution. And Hal Huggins, you know, he's a dentist. But even him as a dentist recognized that nutrition, I mean, it's the most important component to your body healing itself. So, you know, if a dentist sees that, you know, there's psychiatrists out there that see the same thing. It's the food that's the most important component. And that's what we need to focus on. So a few of my favorite things that I'm just going to go over quickly, because I think that this is good for everybody to have, but the dry skin brush. The dry skin brush is really awesome because you just lightly brush your whole body before a shower. It sloughs off the old dead skin cells, but it also is keeping your immune system going. And if anyone's had a lymphatic massage, they know it's a very, very light touch, and they just move the lymph. Well, the dry brushing helps to move the lymph. And again, that's what we want, the lymph moving so that we can be healthy and, you know, work with our bodies to fight infections and things like that. You always, when you brush, you always brush towards your heart. So wherever it is, you know, your legs, you always brush up. Brush towards your heart. And then coconut oil. Coconut oil, raw coconut oil. Use it for everything. Use it for oil pulling, which also helps with your immune system because you're pulling out in the morning a lot of toxins and things that are in your mouth, and bacteria, things like that. So coconut oil for that. Coconut oil for your skin. Another part of your immune system is the microbiota that you have on your skin. We haven't really gotten into that. I've talked about that before, but you have, you know, everyone hears now about probiotics for your gut and keeping your gut bacteria healthy. But you've got like trillions of different, like 1,000 different strains of bacteria on your skin. And you want to keep that healthy. And the research is showing more and more that it's the microbiota that is like a huge part of your immune system. So when you put on skincare products that have the chemicals, you're damaging the microbiota. So if you use things like coconut oil, you want the good coconut oil, because whatever you put on your skin goes in your bloodstream within 26 seconds. So you don't want to be cheap and say, oh, you know, let me get the fractionated coconut oil, or let me get something cheap. You want the good stuff because it's still, your body's consuming it. So coconut oil is amazing. Plenty of fresh water. I love the far infrared sauna. That helps you detox from the inside, getting rid of heavy metals, getting rid of, you know, different toxins. So the far infrared sauna is amazing. So if you get the opportunity, sometimes you'll see Groupon specials where they'll have the far infrared sauna. You know, snatch them up. They're good. And then plenty of fresh spring water. You know, the bottled water is not the best. There's no government oversight to make sure that bottled water is safer. And so that's one issue. Another issue is all the plastic. So whole other topic. But fresh spring water, really important. Some good vitamins, and then of course digestive enzymes. And like I said, I love the enzyme formulations because they've got a whole line of enzymes. It's not as simple as just going to, you know, the health food store and pulling a bottle off. These are specific for what's going on in your body. And so I offer an enzyme analysis to see what kinds of enzymes that you actually need. So you're not just getting kind of like a generic thing. And then also, you know, I do a lot of other things. I'm an attorney, and so I help people with birthing plans. I help people with vaccine exemptions, personal injury cases. But the health and all this is my passion. And so there is a coupon here, if you're interested. Talks a little bit about some of the services that I do offer. And so I would love to have you come in and get, you know, get an analysis. And then also on the flyer, there's a little survey. And this is not a complete survey, but this is a little snapshot, just, you know, are you enzyme deficient? And the reality is most people are enzyme deficient. Most people do need the digestive enzymes. So it's good to find out what it is exactly that you do need. And so I think that we can make ourselves healthier one bite at a time. I think food is the key, and I think that what's going on with our food and Monsanto and GMOs and things getting processed, I think that is actually indicative of how important food is. If they want to take food away from us, they know how powerful food is. And if you control the food supply, you can control the people. So it's really, really important to take control there. Couple little things. I love supporting local, so farmers markets, and you can talk to the farmers and you can find out, is it organic? Most of them aren't technically organic because it costs a lot of money to get that certification, but they grow all their food and produce organically, with the same processes. So anyway, so check that out. Let's take control of our health. Thank you.